in all fairness, Juan isn't one to hide his feelings of any sort.
No. No. He wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
He loves you too much to do that. Okay, let's go.
Today,
I'm waiting on you.
I'm
bro.
here to give you
happening.
the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something
second
that our world is
Jim.
desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis
Hey, thanks for having me
is
to ride
Catholic
home.
Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
Jim.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
Okay.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined.
There's no way
You
Deacon
guys.
Garlic would be doing this right now. Like, as a
You know what,
podcast.
guys, I gotta say, I love this.
You know what I mean? Like, there's
Listen, look, we do a lot of things Deacon Garlic wouldn't do.
that's so true.
Yeah.
But he'd be like,
Warning.
we're not doing
The
this tonight.
Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. In typical, or stereotypical, I guess, men fashion, we did not mention last week that it was our 7th anniversary to the Catholic Man Show. About 7, we missed the anniversary.
Dang it.
But that's
You know,
okay. It's all right.
7 years.
7 years is like it's not even a big. It's not a
whatever.
big. It's not a big.
Remember when we used
number.
to like throw big celebrations for
Well-
everything we did?
Well, it's because we didn't realize we'd actually get that far.
Yeah.
The reality was, we did not expect to go to 100 episodes.
Right.
The reality was, like, we were shocked that we got past year one, and then even more shocked we got past year 2,
Yeah.
and then we just like started blaming Jim for year 3. And then Juan became the
Year three, to be fair, was mostly Jim's fault.
That I mean, yeah, and then Juan came into the picture as well, and I think he was
But
the
he was there
scapegoat.
before.
I
year
think he was
3.
yeah, but we didn't like start blaming Juan till about
Right.
year
Yeah,
4.
that's true. We could have.
Oh, we easily could have.
We
yeah.
probably should have.
It was there for us. We kept the cards in the back pocket just in case we had to deal them out.
Right. Yeah.
We
can say that because he's not here today.
Right. But Jim is.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, I'm going to need a ride home. That's actually true.
That's
I
actually
actually do need a ride home.
Hey.
I do not have a car here with me.
Speaking of old school Catholic Man Show, happy birthday to Father Stuart Krevkor. It's his birthday today.
Oh, it's also my mom's birthday today.
Oh, Mrs. Niles.
And my goddaughter, my niece, Bella.
Bella. Where'd you go, Bella?
It's a great birthday
You did
day.
it, Bella.
Yeah.
But Father Stuart Krevkor gave us a bottle of Irish whiskey, if you recall.
I do. With a very manly note.
Right. And this
As
is
well.
this is back like when we were well, I mean, we still are nobodies,
We were,
but
like, fledgling.
but we were just like, yeah, floundering.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know it.
It was through his charity.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday, Father.
And to Mrs. Niles, Mrs. Anna Niles. One of my favorite Anna Niles stories.
She's my favorite mom.
She's your favorite mom?
Yeah.
One of my favorite Anna Niles stories, and I think this sort of like really kind of like encapsulate who Anna Niles is as a mother.
Uh-huh.
Not as a person, but just as a mother.
Uh-huh.
Because she, I spent a lot of time with Anna Niles growing up.
Yeah.
What I remember is the time that David Niles decided to slam his door shut on her. And
I mean, she wasn't like standing in the doorway, but I was storming off
and slammed the door
after like I was mad or about
and
something.
in typical Mrs. Niles fashion, very calm, cool, collected, not not too high, not too low, just like very even keeled.
The way she always is.
The way she always is.
Just deadly.
Just went over and went to the hinges of that door and
took it right off.
Popped those hinges off, took the door off.
For like a month, I didn't have a door.
And didn't have a door for his in his
so like
in his
changing
room.
clothes, like kind of like away from the doors.
But hey,
up
listen,
against the wall.
A door is a privilege, and if you abuse that privilege,
and this is my door.
Right.
This door on your room
is my door.
It's actually my door.
And so you slammed my door in a disrespectful way, and thus you don't get a door.
Right, because I can actually do anything I want with my door.
A door is a privilege.
Did you buy this door?
Right.
I seem to remember buying this door
Speaking
myself.
of buying doors, which you didn't think, there's no way he has a way to get to the next story.
Yeah, well.
But I do.
I never doubted you.
I had to put on a new front door and a new back door in the house.
How come you had to do that, Adam?
Well, the back door needed it desperately, just for structural reasons.
Yeah. Mostly the answer is because your wife decided.
The front door is definitely because my wife decided.
And that's really
that's the only reason,
that's
really.
The reason, yeah. That's the best reason also.
It's the reason that I enjoy the most when having to do something.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, speaking of which, we last week we talked about honoring the heart of the home, our wives.
And you can't honor it if you don't have a good door.
That's right. To slam if needed.
Right.
So today we're drinking E.H. Taylor Jr. Small Batch. It is a bourbon in which we are revisiting it.
I was going to say, we've had this one before, but it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's not very easy to get here in Oklahoma.
Sadly.
It's so when the liquor stores call me and say, "Hey, we have a bottle," I typically pick one up.
Yeah.
And so, for those who don't know, it is bottled in bond. It is 50% ABV, straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey. Same distillery as, like they've all kind of combined now. But the Buffalo Traces, the Blantons, the Eagle Rares, the E.H. Taylors.
It's all Buffalo Trace. Who is the main one? Like, who is it that's been buying? Is it Buffalo Trace buying everybody else? Like, what's the parent corporation?
I did know this at one time.
I also wonder if they've probably created a parent corporation simply to own them, but who knows?
But E.H. Taylor is one of the oldest bourbon distilleries in the U.S.
I remember really liking this when we had it.
Yeah. So this is like considered like a true sipping bourbon. So we're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers. Cheers, Jim. Apricot, honey.
Yeah, toffee.
A little toffee. Yeah. Way to go, man. Dude, your nose is like coming.
It's really
maturing.
Oh.
Yep. That is very, very good.
That is delicious.
Yummy scale.
This is very good.
4.5. 4.5.
Okay.
4.5 on the yummy scale. 4.5 yummies. So.
How much? What was the price? How much does this cost?
Probably like 50. Roughly.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Whoa. That raises up 4.6.
Oh.
I did not realize, but
the yummy scale apparently has a very
can slide.
Right. We thought it was an objective scale. It's not, as it turns out. If this were a $10 bottle of whiskey, I know 5 is the theoretical maximum,
but it would be broken.
We could have reached a 5.1
right.
if this were, hypothetically a $10 whiskey.
Right. So there's a small community, Catholic community in the Diocese of Tulsa, just about 15 miles south of the Oklahoma-Kansas border in Miami, Oklahoma. Now, you hear me say Miami. It is spelled just like Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. It is pronounced Miami.
Right, because that's how you say it.
Here in Oklahoma.
Sort of like it's not Worcester.
Right.
It's
Worcester. Right.
Worcester, Massachusetts.
That's correct. There's a small community out there that are Chuukese.
Chuukese or Chuckies?
Chuukese.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
They're a Micronesian community.
I had
Pacific Islander.
I had never heard of that until you told me about it the other day.
Yeah, so I went out there to take pictures. We're writing an article, an EOC article. Eastern Oklahoma Catholic Magazine is the diocesan magazine in which I'm the editor of, and we write stories for them. And so we were going to do a story and take pictures because there's this whole community of 50 to 60 people, that all drive there.
Is it like a few families who make up?
Yeah, a lot of them are related. They're very heavy family oriented. In fact, they had about 30 that just recently moved to Nebraska because they found new jobs.
So they lost a huge portion.
Lost a huge portion, but it was because part of the family said, "Hey, we're leaving to go start these new jobs," and the other half of the family said, "Well, they're leaving, so we have to leave too." It was kind of like, we're just family, and so where they go, we go.
Wow.
Which I think is incredible.
Yeah.
Very kind of American.
Anti-modern, yeah.
Like,
the kind of against modern sensibilities.
Right. So we're driving out there. It's about an hour and a half drive. On Sunday, we're going to go to Mass. The priest there, Father Samuel Perez, learned how to speak their language. Say the Mass in their language. He didn't speak it, but he learned to say the Mass in their language so that they could, enjoy, come into fulfilled prayer life.
Appreciate the Mass better.
As we were leaving as a family, I told him we were going, and my youngest, Leo, thought I said Chuck E. Cheese. We were going to Chuck E. Cheese.
He's probably pretty disappointed when you got to Mass.
He was incredibly disappointed when he realized there are no games.
This is a church! They don't have pizza here! That is a great story.
Poor Leo.
He was disappointed.
I also, I get it.
Yeah.
I had to look at the post twice. I thought it said Chuck E. Cheese.
Because it's spelled very similar. Chuukese is how you say,
I think if someone said, "Hey, you want to go get some pizza?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's get some pizza." And then we showed up at Mass. I'd have been like, guys, I'm like, "Oh, we're going to have Mass? That's cool. Are we still getting pizza after Mass?" Because if this is all you meant.
I've observed the fast.
And
I'm fine to go to Mass.
I'm happy to go to Mass.
Right.
But if we're not still getting pizza, I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to ignore your phone call next time
I'm a little upset.
You get one decline for sure on my phone next time.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a lot more questions about plans next time you're proposing them. Okay. Ready? Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan. Whoa. Did you see that? Chair dropped on me.
Dude, I thought you were falling.
I did not fall. I did drop.
You went,
I think my foot hit the lever.
Okay.
We have Jimbo Baggins in the house with us.
Okay.
So that was a hilarious story you told about Leo.
Yes.
I hope he recovered.
He's still.
Our family this week, we went to
Branson.
Branson, thank you. I had never
as typical white mid 30-year-old
Midwesterners do.
Yeah.
I had never been to Branson. I've been, but I was like 1 year old.
When your parents were your age, and they were the typical white mid 30 parents,
Midwesterners. Yeah, they went to Branson.
Right.
Incredible town.
Incredible. Did you go to the Case Knife place?
I wanted to. We were hoping
I meant
to be able to
tell you to go.
It was on my list. We didn't get to go.
Oh, I meant to tell you should go.
We went to a dinosaur museum this morning.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
It was cool.
I mean,
the girls liked the dinosaur museum.
I mean, the dinosaur museum is cool, but the
cool.
case, knife.
I know. I wanted to, it was on the just, this is something that I'm having to, about vacations. Like, I'm having to learn and let go of. Okay. So when we go to Michigan, I've been going up to Michigan my whole life. And we have a cabin up there in Michigan. And so for
this
me,
is where you take your 2-month vacation during the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, if it's going to be short.
Right.
I mean, we prefer a full 4 months to really, let it soak in. But, there's a lot of traditions. My family is very tradition heavy. Okay. So like we'll eat at the same places, do the same things. Like there's it's, all the tradition. It's good. So now that I have kids, I'm having to like really transition out of what is the vacation about? Like it's not about me getting to enjoy these lifelong traditions that I have about, I'm going to swim across the lake and back. Or, I want to make sure to get to, hike up to top of Mount Pisgah. Or, like all of these things that are good and, great things. Just because, like, if I do that, like, obviously the kids can't swim across the lake with me. They would not be able to make it to the top of the mountain. Like, we would eventually get there, I think. Like Davey, he's not going to make it. All right. He's too heavy. All right. But so it's like I'm having to transition and just accept that, that, hey, when we go on vacation, it's for them, and not for me. And I'll have more fun and just like learning to have fun watching them have fun, which I've always done anyway. But, hey, we've got time. How are we going to spend it?
So your kids are a little bit behind mine in age, right? And so it's funny you bring this up because I actually had this same revelation regarding vacations, I think last year. And I realized the importance actually of leisure in vacations because I used to work, and like build up all this anxiety or whatever you want to call it. And then like lean into a vacation to just do nothing almost and to unwind. And then I realized that one is just not a healthy way of living. But that vacation is, when you go as a family, is not actually meant for you to just do nothing.
It's not a day off.
It's not a day off. And so I realized actually that vacationing in a well-ordered way of life with a leisurely life, you don't use vacation to unwind, but you use the vacation to be able to spend time with the family, and you don't need it
to liege.
To liege, yeah, in and of itself.
Trademark,
right? In and of itself, like, and so the purpose of us going is just to go do things together,
right? To
spend time together,
right?
Not so that I can rejuvenate myself, which is not true leisure in and of, like, also like you don't not do anything to rejuvenate yourself to go back to work, right? Which is what I used to use vacation for. And so I had this realization that
if you do it the right way and you spend the time with your kids, even though it's kind of work, like you're tired,
it's still,
you still get that rejuvenation that you want.
Right.
In fact, you probably get it more.
You absolutely get it more.
Right. If you just sit there and watch a football game or something, you're still going to be tired when the football game is over.
Right.
But if you go out and you like have some great quality time, when you come back, you feel satisfied.
So this is, I think, like, if anytime we can talk about leisure,
Sure.
I try to take that opportunity.
Totally.
But I think that this is such an important aspect of the family life, of understanding the importance of a vacation and what the vacation truly is, which is spending time with your family and making memories.
Yeah.
Right? Not so that dad can go off and just do his own thing so that way he can unwind to get back to work.
And then your kids hate vacationing because
right,
they sit around. They can't do stuff without a parent.
Right.
Because they're too young. We want to do something, Dad.
So I realized that last year where vacationing isn't for me.
Yeah. When we go other places, it's not so difficult because I don't have habits and traditions. But, when we go to the cabin, it's like, well, I don't know. I've always done all of these things, and that's what I look forward to. And
Right.
But there's other great things, But this year, Branson was awesome. Like, so the buildings, like so many cool architecture things, but also it's a super Christian place. Like a lot of the shows just have like Christian elements to them. It's like clearly they know their niche, and it's to families, Christian families. So like, come spend your money here because we'll cater to your moral, we'll cater to the things that you want.
Right.
Which is great. It's a niche I support, marketing to.
Right.
But one thing that was really fun was that my oldest Elizabeth was about 1 millimeter tall enough to ride all of the rides. So, like first roller coaster, she had no idea
what
was about to happen. We went on this roller coaster called Wildfire, and like basically the first thing that happens is just a free fall plunge, free fall plunge straight into an upside down, loop. Yeah, I think we went upside down like 4 times. I look over and she's just like, like just gritting, and we get off, and I was like, "What did you think?" She was like, It's like, "Did you like it?" Yeah. So then, like, the whole...
Do you want to do it again? No.
I don't think so. Yeah. But then the rest of the day, it was like, made sure to really reinforce, like, that was so awesome. Like, you did so great. And she rode a lot of other rides, but it was really funny that...
when you're going click, 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 click,
Yeah.
all the way up, like, were you, like, talking her up and, like, getting ready?
Are you ready? This is going to be so great. Yeah, it was like positive, a lot of positive things.
Right.
We're laying
Positive
on the
reinforcement.
positivity.
Yeah.
But you could see it in her eyes. And I remember the feeling like, you feel like, we're actually really high up here, guys. Is this safe? We're going to fall over?
Why is Dad, like being incredibly positive all of a sudden?
Dad, you're being weird. It's freaking me out. I'm not being weird.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. Are you having a great time? What do you think? Is this great?
Yeah.
No, it's not. But it was a really great time. One of the craziest things was on the way there. I'm driving, and I tell Pamela, like, Pamela, we need gas. Like, we are about to run out of gas. And so it's like, and I told her, do not let me pass the next exit, because I will do that. Like, I will totally space on the fact that we need gas, and just blow right by. And the next one's not for 20 miles. It's like, can we make it 20 miles? I don't know. And so I was like, Pamela, do not let me drive past the next exit. And so we got off, and it's like, oh, there's a Phillips 66. We have a Phillips 66 gift card. Let's go there. We pull in.
Phillips 66 is a gas station.
People know. That's nationwide, isn't it?
I don't think so. Not on.
Really?
No.
Okay. It's a gas station.
Yeah.
So we pull in, and then I hear the kids say, hey, look, it's the Minahans. And sure enough, there's Adam and Haley and Leo right after their Chuck E. Cheese visit. And we had no idea they were in Miami. And we shouldn't. Miami. Sorry. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I know better.
Yeah.
We had no idea that they were in Miami. And we weren't supposed to be in Miami. And we just happened to run into each other at the gas station. It was crazy.
It was funny because I was in the car. Like, Haley and I were both in the car. I had just gone in to get snacks because we went out there at 1:30
and
for
Mass.
Was
no pizza after Mass.
Right, there's no
which
pizza.
Is a big letdown.
Right. So
games.
Or games.
No clown games. Nothing.
No skee ball. Nothing.
Right.
And so I got some snacks, and I'm like getting into the bag of snacks for the kids, and I'm like looking down, and I hand off the chips and everything, and I look back up, and I put it into drive, and I look up, and all of a sudden, like, you parked right in front of me.
blocked.
Perpendicular.
Totally blocked you off.
Yeah. And at first I was like, oh no, what is going on? I was like, my first thought was, I'm not carrying. That was my first thought. I was a little.
It's about to go down.
Yeah, because like, who else?
I will ram you, sir.
Yeah, like, why are you doing this? And then I realized it was you very quickly, but
it was just crazy.
Yeah, that was because Miami, an hour and a half away from home.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a small place. It is not a big place.
Yeah, it is not a small. Yeah, not a place that like you would go to meet people.
Sacred Heart there, though, the parish.
Yes.
Incredible. Reliquaries.
Yes, they have
It's like this small town church with, I don't know, 50, maybe 25.
I don't think that many, but they have like
It's a bunch
Yeah.
of serious big time
relics
saints.
of the cross, Teresa of Lisieux.
They have the apostles?
No, I don't know. They have Vincent de Paul. I mean, they have all these they have a crazy amount of relics.
You go in there and it just blows you away.
What are we talking about tonight?
Observance, the virtue of.
The sub-virtue of the sub-virtues.
It's a sub-virtue. Triple sub, baby.
Okay, dude, I carried the first 2 segments there for you.
Angels are just hooked up.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys
I hope.
run into each other like that.
I know, and
It was totally crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing here? What are you guys doing here? I'm going to Branson. What are you doing here?
going back home.
We're just going home. All right, well, what are you doing here?
Leo's like, we were gonna go to the Chuck E. Cheese.
Turns out they don't have one here.
Yeah.
We looked.
Yeah. There's one like 3 miles away from our house. I don't know why we thought we'd have to go here.
I told Mom.
Right.
It was the left. Go left.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let me read this first.
Oh my goodness.
What's going on? Why are you at like 3? Or not 3? If you're watching on video right now and you're like, hey, why is the music going and they're not doing anything? It's because Dave hit the wrong button.
I just hit the wrong button.
And so we have to start over again.
It's okay.
So that you're really,
I think they probably figured out when I said, ah!
It's good thing that our bumper music is so
Awesome.
bomb.
You get to listen to it again. I just wanted to hear it again. That's all it was.
7 years is not enough. It's amazing that we've been going for 7 years, have not changed it.
This is my alarm clock in the morning. This is how we wake up every day.
So, the thing is, I kind of forgot we were going to record tonight. Just to be
Not our
transparent.
usual day.
It's not our usual day. Just be transparent with you, the listener,
Is transparency a virtue?
whom I love in all Christian charity.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to go to bed. And then Jimbo Baggins over here texts me and says, I'm running late. I'm like, what is he running late for?
Well, I hope you make it, Jim.
Yeah,
I'm
good
going to
luck, Jim.
bed.
Yeah.
I'll pray for you.
And then I realized, oh, he's coming over to my house. I had not heard from you because you were in Branson.
Yeah.
And you thought you sent over the email of what we're going to talk about this
I thought
evening.
I did. I did not. I failed to click the button, apparently.
You did not do
It
that.
was still just sitting there.
So then I had to kind of wake up because I was in the midst of going to bed. And I asked, hey, what are we talking about this evening? And you're like, I already sent it to you. No, you didn't.
I didn't.
You did not send it to me. So then you sent it to me just a few minutes ago before we started. I have not had a chance to read it all. Or really almost any of it. Except for the little bit that you read out loud, like the first part. We're going to talk about observance tonight, which we realized. So there's, the 4 cardinal virtues. The second cardinal virtue is justice. One of the sub-virtues of justice is religion. One of the sub-virtues of the sub-virtue of religion is piety.
Mm-hmm.
A sub-virtue of the sub-virtue of the sub-virtue
of justice, of religion, of piety
is observance.
Correct.
Which is what we will be talking about tonight. We're what you're calling. This is listen. This is a 7th year of the Catholic Mansion
this
topic.
is not a deep track.
Yeah.
I don't know what a deep track is.
So this is what you do on a 7th year of a show, and not the first year of a show.
Right.
Now, when you told me that we were doing observance, I was like, okay. I was trying to think what is it? Before I even read anything. So let me give you some hot takes or like some initial thoughts. Not hot takes, but initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. Initial guesses.
Initial guesses, and then we'll parse out to try to figure out. Am I even close?
Okay.
So observance in and of itself seems to be an action, right? So
correct.
So it seems like that you've already reasoned yourself to understand that the act in which you are about to partake in is a good act, like is a moral act.
It's a just one.
It's a just one, right? And so you say, okay.
So we know we're rendering
something
due to
someone. And then it's like, okay, well then religion is rendering due to what God to what is due to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And then piety is rendering that which like to your parents, to those that are higher authority than you,
but to your parents,
specifically to the parents.
It's piety is for your parents, and we kind of apply it in different ways, but it's really for your parents. Yeah.
And then so observance seems to be the action in which you exercise the virtue of piety.
You're close. So observance is a special virtue. So
are all virtues special?
No.
I feel like they are.
Although it does seem like anytime Aquinas asks the question, is fill in the blank a special virtue? The answer is always yes. It seems like he never says...
Are you begging the question? It seems like you're begging the question.
It does seem like he's begging the question. So observance would be not about where piety is specifically about your parents. Observance would be about people in honor. So
of different honor. So that would be government officials,
right.
Bosses.
So your parents would be a person, like someone who has a position of honor,
spiritual authority
with
over
regard to you. But observance is other people who aren't your parents who have like a position of honor within you. So let me just quote you a quote.
Okay.
From the Summa.
Okay.
About observance. He says, therefore, just as, in a manner, beneath religion, whereby worship is given to God, we find piety, whereby we worship our parents. So, under piety, we find observance, whereby worship and honor are paid to persons in positions of dignity. So, who are these people? These are government officials.
Okay.
These are
spiritual authorities.
Spiritual authorities, I would say so. Also, like your boss would be, a person who has like an office above you.
So the difference between observance and obedience is what?
Well, so observance is more like the honor that's due to them, as opposed to just the strict obedience.
Ooh, okay. So obedience would be the act, like fulfilling the action in and of itself. Honor would be the understanding of.
Well, no, I would still say that the observance is still an action, but they're two separate actions. Okay, so your boss might say to do something.
Okay.
And you might do it begrudgingly,
mm-hmm.
and not fail to honor them, or you might do it in a way. Like, if you're there in if you're like in a working group or something, you get, are you going to,
both of which,
how are you going to affect the morale of your little group?
Both of which you fulfilled the task.
You might have had strict obedience,
right?
You might have met the requirement for obedience, but did you meet the requirement for honoring, which is a different thing.
So observing, yeah. Okay.
If you fail to obey, you have failed to honor. That is. If you do not do what you are supposed to do, then you can't say, I'm honoring you, but I'm not obeying you.
Okay.
That's the way it seems to me. Anyway.
Okay. So can observance be applied to things outside of people?
That is a good question. My initial response, I do not know, but my initial response is no, is what I'm going to say.
Really?
Well, let me take that back, because piety is often applied to the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess observance Could
Because
be.
like you observe days of fasting, you observe Friday abstaining from meat,
Right, and do you do it honoring those things?
right? Or do you just do it out of obedience?
Yeah, that's a really good question, I think. Honestly, I had not considered that. And I'm gonna retract my initial
Okay.
no. And I'm gonna say maybe.
Really going out on a limb.
Yeah.
Really
Well,
hedging your bets, huh?
I actually don't want to say one way or the other. Because I don't know, I'd have to think about that. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, again, this is not my topic.
Right.
So
But you asked a good question.
I learned about this 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But it seems just from the grammar aspect, it would be true because we use the word observing feast days, observing fast days.
Uh-huh.
We observe the 4th of July. We observe different liturgical seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And the word observe is used possibly even in the the church's dialect or whatever you want to call it, like the observance of Holy Saturday or Good Friday, So it seems like that would be the case. Now, again.
Yeah. So observe comes from the Latin word observaveris.
You made that up.
No. It's in the De Profundis. And whether I don't know what the root word is, but in the Psalm, the De Profundis, the word observaveris is in there, and it means to see or to look. So
I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. So I don't know that just because we use the word observing these feast days,
that it translates.
I don't necessarily think that it's referring to.
But it seems fitting, right? So
it does say that if we can say observe,
because out of justice we are and out of the subvirtue of religion, which is out of the subvirtue of piety, we are out of justice. We're doing what is due to them. Out of the religion, we're giving God what is due to Him. Out of piety, we're observing what our parents or what our spiritual fathers have told us. Thus, to do on certain days. Thus, it seems like that in this context, that would be still the cubed sub virtue obedience.
Yeah, I think that that's a good argument to make. I think that the virtue per se is about people, just like piety per se is about parents. And we still use the virtue of piety, things that play a parental-like role in our lives, like the nation providing for us, right?
The polis,
right? The polis. Those things we still have a piety. We see how piety fits in to those things in our life.
Okay.
I think we could say, are there other things that would hold like that dignity? Or a place of honor with regard to us, things that we should be honoring, then maybe there is an observance to them. And I think that I don't see why that doesn't work, right? So if it's something that should be honored, but it's not quite to the level of piety, then I think honoring what deserves to be honored, rendering to it its what is due to it. I think in this narrow, because, once again, we're pretty far down. We're talking about something pretty specific at this point. I don't see why that wouldn't be observance.
Now, so on the other side of the break, I want to talk to you about. So it seems like that when people say what does it matter if we eat meat on Fridays or not, or what does it matter if we don't do something, give up something on Fridays?
Canon law.
It's not that big of a deal.
Honoring canon law could be a good example of observance.
Yeah, but does that multiply and build up to other sins?
Good question. I want to read this again real quick.
That's fine.
Good.
I was trying to buy you some.
I would just want to read this again to see exactly how he phrases this.
Okay.
because I like in this first, he uses this example of a sailor who governs the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And like the point of the governance is to move it to an end.
Okay, that makes sense. Jim, if you would dance while we read, that would be great for the guests, for the viewers and listeners.
Let us pray.
He's gonna do a liturgical dance, turns out. Thing is I'm not going to cut any of this out.
No.
'Cause I'm not editing it, so people on YouTube right now that are watching or Facebook, they're like, did it freeze? Is my internet connection not working? No, it's working. It's fine. We're just not talking right now. You can contemplate, think about Jesus. It's something that I tell my kids all the time, like when they're being crazy, it's like, okay guys, everybody be quiet. Think about Jesus. It's a good thing to say.
Okay, so I think this answers your question.
It does?
I think so.
Okay.
So that'll be good to.
In a good way or a bad way? I mean, it would be a good way. It answers my question.
Answers it, yeah.
Yeah. Seems like that. I did not read it. I just kind of skimmed it. It seems like that it's really focused on people and not things.
Yeah, it does. Okay. You ready?
Yeah. Although I'd say I think that I can make the same argument that I was trying to make at the very end there, where I was teeing it up with people rather than a thing that we're supposed to do. Like, why do we have to listen to Father at his homily? Like, what does it really matter? Or, what does it matter if I don't do whatever it is the church tells me to do? Well, that would be the church and not a person. Well, it'd still be a person. Like,
yeah. Let's talk about it. But I think the answer is no. It's not observance. It's piety. I mean, we'll read a line or two out of this and see how it goes.
See what happens.
Let's just see what happens. Yeah. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We're talking about observance. It's a triple sub-virtue of justice.
Virtue cubed.
And so, Adam, we were talking in the last segment about whether or not the virtue of observance can be applied to things other than people. And we said maybe.
And I felt like I made a pretty compelling argument.
I thought you did too. Although then I was reading again here what...
Turns out Aquinas has it more...
Aquinas says, and he says just no. So, well, he doesn't just say no, but he's asking the question whether observance is a greater virtue than piety. And that's not really your question, but the things he says right here, I think, get to what you're saying. He says, something may be paid to persons in positions of dignity in two ways. First, in relation to the common good, as when one serves them in the administration of the affairs of state. This no longer belongs to observance, but to piety, which pays worship not only to one's father, but also to one's fatherland. Secondly, that which is paid to persons in positions of dignity refers specially to their personal usefulness or renown, and this belongs properly to observance as distinct from piety. So, to me, this kind of says, if it's not specifically this second thing, whether based on someone's renown or their position of dignity, that
It's not.
it's going to probably
strictly speaking,
it's going to fall
observance.
more under piety than observance. And he basically spends the rest of this article talking about what is not observance, what is piety. And the answer, of course, is that observance is not greater than piety, because it's a sub-virtue of piety.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can't be greater than piety. I mean, this is one of those questions right away. Is observance greater than piety? Well, it's not, because he's already told you that it's a sub-virtue of piety.
Right. Now, so on the other side, like before the break, I had asked you a question about, like, okay, let's say hypothetically, like, what does it really matter if we don't observe, abstaining on Good Friday, or on Friday, abstaining from meat from Friday, or giving up some sacrifice during Friday? Like, what does that really matter? Why is that considered a sin?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it really matter? Now, I think, based off of what you just said, maybe observance isn't necessarily for a specific thing, but
I think
to
it's
a
more
person.
for people. Yeah.
But I think I can apply that same principle. The same question can be applied in this context as well, right? Okay, so like I ask for advice from a priest, and he gives me advice. I don't really like that advice, or
and maybe you don't. You can not like advice that priests give you. I mean,
right? But
you shouldn't be disrespectful, though.
Right. So like what like.
Let's talk about your first example about eating meat on Friday, because I think that does apply. So because observance is a sub-virtue of piety, everything about observance will be found inside of piety as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there's nothing that falls that you can say, oh, the virtue of observance is this, and piety doesn't have that. No. Because observance is a sub-virtue of piety, everything that is observance is also found inside of piety, right? Just like it's all goes back to justice, rendering to another what is due to them. So with regard to canon law, which is the eating meat on Friday question, the mother, church is our mother, a parent, right? And so we're to
like obvious, or you mean a parent, like a
yeah. How do you know if a joke is a dad joke? Because the punchline is a parent. That's right. No, she's our mother, and like a parental, and so we owe piety to the church and all of her laws. I mean, it's just justice, but you could say it's a sub-virtue as piety. So failing to do, like if your mother told you, don't eat this today, and she's your mom, you have to do it, right? I mean, if you're a child
of age,
right? Yeah. And if you were to break that, well, that'd be wrong. That would be wrong of you to do. So when the church says, don't eat meat on Friday,
or make a small sacrifice.
Now, right, but I'm just saying first, if the church says don't eat meat on Friday, which some Fridays she straight up says that, Fridays of Lent. Mm-hmm. If you do that, it's grave matter. Now, of course, the church did it, decades ago, say, instead of every Friday having a strict abstinence from meat, you may choose to substitute that with an equal, like a penance of some equal value, if you want to call it that. I don't know exactly the terms that they use. And I think most of the time people don't do that. No, yeah, exactly. I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
What do you think? I'm an idiot?
Go listen to the Pillar or something if you want to go listen to canon.
Yeah.
Canon lawyers.
Or just, you can Google it and read it.
I like the Pillar. That was not a slight on them. There's gonna be somebody who's tag them and be like,
"What, you don't like the Pillar?"
I like the Pillar.
Yeah. We need people like that,
right? Yeah.
So we can look up what they say about stuff. Yeah. So I do think that is a violation of piety. It's impiety to, let's be honest. Most of the time,
to be honest,
almost 100% of the time, when people are eating meat on Friday, they're just simply unaware that the church actually still asks them.
Forgot.
Right. Or forgot. Yeah. And that's there's no sin there if you just didn't know, or you just don't, if you forget to eat. I mean, it's like, oops, I had bacon for breakfast.
The culpability is very, very low, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or none at all. If you don't know, you're not culpable.
Correct.
For anything. But yeah, so the church still asks us to abstain every Friday from meat. Now you can, it says, as an option, choose something else to do instead. It needs to be something of like.
If you're in the U.S., because it's a U.S.
This is a U.S. thing,
right?
And if you're under the age of, I don't remember what the age is. It's I think 65 or something, which is like, and all the 65-year-olds I know.
It's like 60 actually.
Is it 60? It's
so.
like maybe it's younger than that, but whatever it is, Google it. Just look it up. There's an age. If you're older than that,
right?
If you're someone really old like Jim, you actually don't have to abstain anymore at all, which I think is a little bogus. But
gotta be careful. You start dating those daughters of gluttony again.
Like what's gonna happen to Jim if he doesn't eat meat on Friday? He's not gonna waste away. You know,
he'll be just fine.
He's not frail.
Okay, so what does it say? Whether it belongs to observance to pay worship and honor to those who are in positions of dignity.
Yeah, and I think we need to clarify, because he keeps talking about worshiping your parents, worshiping, you know, when he says that, when we use the word worship, we're thinking about offering sacrifice, you know.
I hope that's what you think.
Giving the kind of worship that we give only to God. But the word worship used to just mean honoring, right? Your worship was a title for royalty. So it didn't always mean, when Aquinas uses the word worship, he doesn't usually mean the kind of worship that's only for God. Because obviously we don't worship our parents. We don't worship people who are in, you know, places of dignity or honor. But one thing I wanted to talk about with this is I'm in a novena group. We have this statue of St. Joseph. It's a little shrine that goes from family to family, you know, and so whenever you get it, you say the novena with the statue, and then it goes to the next people. And we have this old novena of St. Joseph that I just really like. It's got that like old school punch to it, you know, like St. Joseph, I take up this novena today because of help me to meditate on your virtues. Because of my many sins, it will cause me great distress. You know, like, got that kind of stuff, you know, like, because I'm such a sinner, your virtues are going to be hard for me to, like, wrap my head around. But one of the things, so each day it's like St. Joseph, model of chastity. St. Joseph, model of obedience is one of them. And the little prayer in there is always kind of like, I don't know, it kind of makes me
uneasy.
It makes me uneasy a little bit, because he talks about, you know, "O Joseph, help me to obey God and those who replace him," like basically without reasoning. I forget the exact line, but that's the part that's always, you know, because who are those who replace him? Well, anybody in position of authority, right? So that could even be your boss. So I'm not saying God, that your boss is God, okay? Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But your boss is placed in a position of authority. And so in a small way, a very small way, he is replacing God in like your work life, okay? You owe obedience to your boss, as long as your boss is giving you morally, you know, giving you moral things to do, right? I don't think I need to explain that. I think everybody gets that. And so in many ways, like, he's replacing God, the government, you know, we have to follow the laws, you know, so your parents are, all of these people in authority, or your parents are replacing God in some way. So all of these people kind of stand in position because they have authority over you to compel you to do things, right? But still, it kind of bothers me, like, okay, even your parents, like, if you're 10 years old and your parents like tell you to do something, don't you think you should still like use your reasoning? So like observance, this is kind of where this getting to following what your boss tells you to do. This is where the virtue of observance comes in. And so I just wanted, like, what do you think about this? It kind of bugs me or bothers me to just have that kind of obedience where I'm going to do it without reasoning, you know?
Well, I think there's distinctions to be made, right? So there's times in which Christ specifically says that there's people who are in persona Christi for him, right? In the person of Christ. When that happens, then you really have the freedom to obey and know that it is his will.
Right. Like when the Pope speaks ex cathedra.
Right. Or, yeah, things like that. But there are other times that there are distinctions to be made in which you would have to use prudence, which is the governing of, which is the mothership of the virtues, and governs reason to make your decision.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about this on the other side of the break.
This is the end of the show.
End of the show. I mean, on the podcast.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. And happy 11th anniversary to my wife, Haley.
All right, happy anniversary. Cheers to Jesus. Is it today? Not today, is it?
No, but it's this week.
Sweet.
It's on Friday.
Nice. You going to Ireland again?
No, we're going to the conference.
Yes.
She's not even going to be
so much better than Ireland.
By the way, Jim, we're recording with Pat Flynn on Thursday. This week.
So I do want to keep talking about this just for a
Okay.
second. And I think maybe even a better example would be not your boss, but let's say you're in the military.
Okay.
And you've been given orders. You've been given command, like you've been given an order to do something. And the thing about being in the military is when you're given orders, you don't know the context. You don't know, like, you know, if you're told to take out a target, you don't know who that target is. You don't know.
Right.
And it's not the commanding officer's duty to tell you all that stuff.
Right.
But
But this is the difference between obedience and observance.
Yeah, so
because you're being obedient to.
Yes, you're right. This is more of an obedience. That is more of an obedience thing. Actually, you're right. Because the observance would just be the honor that you give to them.
Right.
All right. I do still think it's a good question, maybe for another time, but we should have observance. We should observe observance. And I'm the president of the radio station, and you're only the CEO, okay?
That's correct.
So I feel like you should, like, honor me or something, because I'm in a position of dignity.
Is there a relationship between wonder and observance?
I don't know. I am not. I like that question. Nothing is coming to mind where I'm not actually seeing a connection.
A connection.
All of the virtues are connected in small ways, right?
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, wonder in and of itself, I mean, wonder is like the beginning of philosophizing in and of itself, right? So like us sitting here talking about this would be like kind of the beginning of wonder. I mean, the reason why I think, like, the reason why I asked the question, right, is because wonder allows you to ask the question, like, well, why? Like, why is it this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so observance, like, you have to know that in which that you can honor. Right, so you have to think about it. You have to wonder. You have to ponder. You have to sit there and think, like, okay, well, why is it that I owe this person honor, other than this another person? Like, why is it that I owe honor to Father Brooks, rather than just my neighbor Bob?
Yeah, I like that thought. Yeah, and I do see where you're going with that. Yeah, so if you haven't pondered the dignity, like, okay, you have a person of dignity. If you haven't pondered, like, why is it they have dignity?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's different about this person versus another person?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and really drawn out those distinctions, then really your observance is going to be really nothing more than obedience. I've been told to honor this person,
and thus I do it,
and so I'm doing it. And why is it? I don't know, but I just do it because I was told to.
Mm-hmm.
And is that really observance? Technically, that might be meeting like the bare minimum, because you are in fact honoring the person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you don't know why, if like you don't have a full understanding of the reason for it, you're gonna, something of the virtue will be lacking, and it'll be just something in you will be lacking.
I mean, this goes back in my mind. I mean,
I really like that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking on the fly here, right? So like, this isn't something like I wasn't setting you up with that question, right? I'm just
sure
riffing off. We're riffing right now, but like, So like it goes back to, in my mind, the Baltimore Catechism, where we made, but to know him, to love him, and serve him in this life, so that we may have eternal life with him forever in heaven, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's a reason why the Baltimore Catechism puts it knowing, loving, serving.
In that order.
Yeah. Right? Because you cannot love that which you do not know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I cannot give honor to that with who I do not know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It seems like that honor is something that you, last week we talked about, and this may be wrong. We're having a conversation right now, right? So this isn't like, don't take this to heart, or don't put this on my gravestone. But it seems like, we talked about last week.
If you don't want someone to put something on your gravestone,
you don't
the last thing you'd say, the last thing you want to say is, don't put that on my gravestone.
Right.
Because everyone's going to be like, it'd be hilarious
if we did that.
There's this one time you said,
I told you I was
on his
sick.
Gravestone.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But last week we talked about honoring our wives, right? And you asked the question about honor, like,
honoring what was not honorable.
Right. And like, no, you give this vow that you're going to honor her, and thus you're going to honor her.
Yeah.
It seems like in observance, it's the same. It's the same thing. And it's, no. It's not about whether or not they're actually a higher authority that's worthy of being observant to.
Uh-huh.
But that in the Christian life, this is just what we're called to do.
Yeah. So it could be. There's two ways. One, like, two reasons. One of that is like based on their office. You would have the virtue of observance, and the other is simply because of their dignity. Like maybe they're an old person, like maybe they're like just a respected man in the community, or something like that. So you would show observance to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe your boss is not a nice person, but he's still your boss, and so you give him observance,
right?
Which would be different from the man who's kind of earned it,
right?
And obviously the man who earned it, you feel better about observing him. Right, because you
at least feel better about respecting him, because respect is earned, right? Respect is not just
you
given.
feel better about honoring him because you respect him, right. But that's the point, is that there's a difference between the respect and the honor, and it's so easy to get them confused, and because we wrap them up together, right? Because we have if we respect somebody, we honor them, because they have done something in our eyes, in our mind, that's worthy of honor. That's why we respect them, but
so I think a counter.
You think of it the other way?
A counterpoint, right, is that I honor, like if I was in England, I would honor the King of England because of his office.
Right, but not because he's done anything.
Yeah, but I would not.
Maybe he has. Maybe he hasn't.
He has to earn my respect.
Right, but I'm saying is, if you respect somebody, you're going to honor them because, you respect them. Why? Well, because in your eyes, they've done something worthy of honor.
He's fulfilling that which is he's supposed to do.
Which is why you respect him.
Right.
So you're obviously going to honor him too. But once again, we just can't. You can't let that be the reason why we honor people. We honor them because it's due them. It's owed them. So be the best man you can be.
Be observant.
Hey guys, come observe me over here. All right.
You have to hit the record button there.
Oh yeah.